Welcome back for another episode of The Dive with Luca and I. We're going to be doing a little experiment today. I learned it from the book I read. It was called Super Communicators, and the lady called it Fast Friends. But it's 36 questions for becoming extremely close with whoever you're speaking with. And I thought it was really interesting, the book was, and then I thought the experiment was really interesting. And I'm going to take you a little bit through the experiment. I'm going to read you what the instructions are so you guys can understand what we're doing. So it says how to do it. It says, identify someone who you'd like to become closer with. It could be someone you know, or someone you're just getting to know, or anyone you want to feel close to, including family members, friends, and acquaintances. Before trying it, make sure both you and your partner are comfortable with sharing personal thoughts and feelings with each other. Find a time right now. Find a time right now. And then it says, for 15 minutes, they have 3 different sets of questions, 12 questions apiece. And so it says, for 15 minutes, take turns asking one another questions in set 1. Each person should answer in each question, but on alternating order so that a different person goes first each time. After another 15 minutes or so, move on to set 2. If you haven't finished yet, finish set 1's questions and spend 15 minutes on set 2 following the same system. After 15, go to set 3, and then, I don't know if we're going to follow the 15-minute point. I had a thought we'd just take 2 or 3 questions from each set that we want to talk about or that you want to ask each other, and we'll go from there. I don't know. I know this is kind of new to you, but I did think it was interesting. Like, I know we're close already, but I think gives us something to, dive a little deeper on. So
let's do the first five or 6 from each, and we'll do like the first 5 from the set 1. But does it get incrementally more
so
deep
the way it works so the way it works is like
would the question 1 and question 12, the 12 be more deeper than the first? More deep. Wow.
Oh, I think it's more or less like set 1 and set 2 are they kind of increase, because like what it talked about in the book is they did it with like random people. So like you can't like one of the questions in set 3 is like, when's the last time you cried? Like that can't be like one of your first questions. So like it kind of uses questions to open up.
I was saying more so it's question 1 versus question 12 in set 1 is one more deep than the other. But if they're all, I would say they're. I'd imagine the same.
I would say they're very similar. Yeah, they're more or less. Yeah, that's what I was just gonna pick 1 or 2 that I wanted to ask for you, and then go along and go for it. So I'll
played a game like this with Tally. It was like a card game. It was like a romantic thing. Yeah, not romantic, but it was more on a romance level, and there was 7 different levels, and it was interesting. I actually did get to know her a little bit through it. Let's do it.
I think this one would be a great one for you. So the first question I'm going to pick is, if you were able to live to the age of 90 and retain either the mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
This is set 1?
Yes.
Holy shit. That was deep.
They're not going to be shallow.
Mind or the body of a 30-year-old for the last 60 years of your life, which would it be? If I live to 90, and I have to either decide to keep my body of a 30 when I'm 30 versus keeping the mind when I'm 30, I would 100% keep the body. Why would I limit myself to whatever I learned for those last 60 years? Or am I reading that wrong?
Well, I think it's saying like,
at 30 years old. Is that that's saying?
No, I think it's saying like the mind of a 30-year-old. So like the mind that you have in 3 years, but like, because like when you get older, you get dementia and you forget things, and you like.
I'm 26.
4 years. Sorry.
Don't age me.
I apologize. Anyway, yeah. And so I would just say it's like that, like the freshness and like the energy of your mind, not necessarily like think about like your body's gonna stay in shape, your mind's gonna stay in shape, like that 30.
I still think I take the body because there's a lot of things you can do to maintain cognitive function as you get older. And then I hear a lot of people, I see a lot of people that are very successful, this and that, and they're old, but they're still sharp. Just because you're 90 doesn't mean that you're not sharp, you know? Doesn't mean that, everyone's going to, have some type of disorder, Alzheimer's, something of that sort. But you can guarantee that every single 90-year-old doesn't have the body of a 30-year-old, So I would say there's people out there that are 90 that are much, much smarter than a 30-year-old. So if we're playing an odds game, I think I would prefer to have the body and take my chances with maintaining my cognitive function.
Well, and I think working out and doing things of that nature keep your mind sharp too. So if you have the body to do it, then yeah.
That's it. That's my final answer. What about you? Or are we doing that, or am I going to ask a separate question?
I think you would ask a separate question, but while you're looking, I can answer the question. I would probably. I would say the body too, because I think my biggest thing is not being able to move. Like I would be scared to crutch around and I don't know,
slow
huts
down,
and
though, I'll
putts
tell you
and.
that. The art of slowing down.
Yeah. Right. Maybe I'm prepared for it now. Maybe I should take it now. But just having to be cautious of every step or everything that you do. So I think I would take the body just so you have that freedom of movement to ease through life.
Okay, let's see. Ooh, this is a good one. If you could change anything about the way you were raised, what would it be?
More discipline, or an understanding of discipline. In the sense that I think as I grew older, I had a lot of playfulness and I always was playing and I was the competitive spirit raised, but I don't think I understood what discipline was as far as sticking to what I'm saying or sticking to what I'm doing, so learning how to have a little more stick-to-itness and the consistency aspect. I feel like I was consistent at showing up, but I wasn't consistent in doing the work. There was times that I lacked, giving my best because I was, saving up for a game or saving up for this or that, whereas just kind of you have talked about in the past of kid, draining his legs before a game is it didn't really matter. I should have just given my best and no matter what, and then whatever happened and the discipline is say what I meant and do what I meant and having that action within.
So do you think, in terms of being raised, do you think you wish your parents had taught you a better discipline, or is this because this sounds more so it's a development thing on your end?
Well, I would say it's a combination. Hey, this is what you're saying, this is what you're doing, because you're my parents and you can see it, but also a self within awareness that hey, this is what you're saying and this is what you're doing. I would say it's a combination of both. You know what I mean? It kind of everything. Whenever, but again, I don't have any problems with the way I was raised. I don't know, but I think it would have been interesting to see if I would have had that, a little more higher class discipline that I try to acquire now.
Yeah.
What would have happened?
I feel that. Interesting.
Okay, I got you. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be?
Wake up tomorrow getting one
quality or ability.
I mean, I can go deep. I want to keep it light. The ability
Boring.
to dance.
Oh, that is deep, though. You have no rhythm, no flow.
You know what? You're not the first person that's told me that. Um, I don't know. It kind of goes back to what you were just saying about the way you were raised. They kind of go. Those two questions go together for me. Um, because I wish I was raised in an environment to where I felt a little more free to just express, like, not like how, my emotions, because I was, but almost where, that like hard ass environment, to where it's not frowned upon when you're out and you're like, you start dancing and, expressing yourself in that way. It's where it's almost not like frowned upon to do that. Um, I It was a one-sided affair in that regard. My mom was a dancer my whole life, her whole life growing up, and then you start playing basketball her whole life until like mid-teenage years. She was a dancer, and then she ended up playing basketball, and so she changed courses. So you can imagine on what side of the parents was more strict on that kind of stuff. But I wish I grew up in an environment to where dancing was more of a common thing. I feel like I enjoy it. My girlfriend, her family, they're big dancers, and it adds a level of just ease and freeness and looseness. They're dancing at the house all the time. It's just kind of a beautiful thing to experience, and I don't have any of that on my end. So I wish I was a little more in tune with that, and I find myself often, I mean, all the time. I wish I knew how to dance better, and I want to go to classes. I've been talking about doing that for a while, and it's almost like at this point it's become like a kind of a sense of insecurity, really. So that's why going to these classes, like I want to go like with Tally. I don't want to go alone. Well, why? It's like, well, because you're insecure. But I wish I was better at dancing. And it's funny because I was talking about it the other day with someone. And they say a lot of the Latino guys, their hips move really good when they're throwing, right? Because they grew up in this culture of dancing, and they know how to feel themselves out, and their bodies they move fast. Their hips are firing, and the dancing culture plays a role in that. One of the pitching coaches I had with the Cardinals actually was talking about that one time, and it made perfect sense. I was like, well, is that why I don't throw hard? And it took a while for me to figure out actually how to like get into my hips, and when I did it obviously it helped. But yeah, they just kind of have this different, how their hips work. Their lower halves, they're just loose. Their hips just know how to turn and rotate. So not to make say like I wish I danced for baseball purposes, but it's more of like a personal thing.
I mean, go ahead. I would say go ahead and start, because like
I'm going to.
It is,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and a little bit on that, the Latino culture is a lot of their dancing comes from the hips.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like their salsas and their this and that is like a hip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like they've tried to teach me in the locker room and stuff, and that's always been absolutely hilarious. But anyway.
I listen. I dance all the time when I'm alone. I don't have like great rhythm, but I dance a lot when I'm alone and stuff like that. When my girlfriend's around, like I'm always dancing. But when I get in like the big public settings, I don't. It's funny because we're in Puerto Rico. Tally and I back in November. We're out, whatever, and we go to this club, and we're there like pretty early, and it didn't start getting crazy till like 1 in the morning. I think we were there at like 10. And it was kind of like empty. So Tally's dancing, this and that, and she just goes into the middle of the dance floor. No one's there. It's empty. Basically, the room's empty, and there's people like scattered around the sides. So people are there, but it's not like dancing. And she goes right into the middle of the dance floor and starts dancing and I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, fuck, dude.
How? Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Like, I gotta go follow her. I gotta go dance with her. I did, but I wasn't comfortable, and I just. I don't know. It was just those situations. I don't like that part of me. The person that's uncomfortable to go dance, and I don't like that. So
did it teach you a lot about yourself?
Honestly, nothing that I didn't know already. I'm not gonna lie. I know that I'm uncomfortable in situations where I'm not confident in what I'm doing. I feel like that goes for a lot of people. I'm not comfortable going out there making a fool of myself. I guess that's the perfectionist in me talking. That's just how I am. And it has its upsides and has its downsides, and the experience that I just told you about, that was definitely its downside. So, dancing. I wish I was better at dancing. I'll give you one more question from set one. Would you like to be famous? In what way?
Would I like to be famous? No, not really.
I have a feeling I knew that answer.
I don't think fame is something like. I guess the answer. I guess honestly, let me rephrase. The answer is yes. I want to be famous for the successes that I have in life. So like, meaning like I want to be so successful that like fame is a part of it, but like I don't want to chase fame. Like I don't want fame. Like I think like having that around me is irrelevant. Like I just like the paparazzi and the constant like publications and the stories of like people that don't understand you, but you know just want to draw a rise out of you. Like that don't entice me. But like working so hard that you're successful, like borderline that Elon Musk a little bit. It's like I read his biography, and this man just works and works and works and works and works, and it's crazy to me because there's nothing that stops him from like his thought process of working, and he continually just like puts work above everything else. And so like all of a sudden he's successful for this Tesla and these rockets and this and that, and his success has brought him immense fame. So like I guess the answer would be yes, because I would love to be highly successful at whatever it is I'm doing. So like I guess success breeds fame, so I would say I would rather be highly successful at whatever I'm doing, and that's how I would answer that question.
That's fair. I feel like a lot of people that seek the fame are seeking it for the wrong reasons. If you're seeking it for the success, then, or if in order to be famous, you'd assume that to be being successful as well. I guess that's the right way to go about it, because then you could always control, let's say, how you want that fame to be. You could back off. You could obviously take advantage of it, like some people do. But if it's for the reasons of being successful, then you're always kind of in control.
Right, like you're focused on what you're doing, and you're not focused on the fame, right? And I don't think those famous people are focused on the fame. Like I think sometimes it engulfs them a little bit. Obviously, I don't know them, and that probably shouldn't be out of my mouth. But like,
well, no. It depends on the kind of person who's famous, though. Because nowadays, shit, you don't have to be good at what you do to be famous. I mean, you could post something on Instagram, post something on something, and get like all this fame, all this overnight fame, literally. And all of a sudden, you're just like, everyone knows you, and then it's like, well, what do you do? That's the thing. I feel that's the problem with nowadays. What do you bring to the table? Why do people know you? What are you good at? And there's so many people that they're really not. It's just it's sad, but they're just very attractive, guy and girl, and they're very popular for that reason. That's a very narcissistic way to be famous, because then it's all about you.
Right. Yeah. So, as you said, let's go to set two. I mean, I think a little reflection on set one. I mean, the kind of things that we talked about earlier was something that we can learn. Like as far as you dancing or like my discipline, like they're definitely something like we can learn, and even like the success thing is like, I don't know. I thought a little reflection on set one is like there are a lot of things that I can learn yet.
Absolutely.
Still.
100%.
So, let's move on. I like 13. If a crystal ball could tell you the truth about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else, what would you want to know?
I mean, that's a tough question. That's like the idea is, do you wish you could tell the future? And it's
Right.
the the immature person's like, yeah, so I could see the lottery ticket. But then at the same time, it's like, well, what about all the other things? What about knowing, when, God forbid, some shit happens? Honestly, I'm gonna say I wouldn't really want to know anything, and the reason I say that is because, well, yeah, it's not everything. You can just pick one.
Yeah. I mean, it can be about yourself, your life, the future, or anything else. Like, if you just want to know one thing, what would it be?
If I had to know one thing, I would say I want to know the next lottery tickets numbers. If I had to pick one, because everything else, I'm not gonna. You can't. I don't know what I can expedite in terms of knowing things about myself. That's part of the journey. So that stuff will come. I'll learn those things in due time.
So what would money expedite? What would money ease for you?
Freedom.
In what manner?
Freedom to explore. Freedom to not have to sacrifice as much of my time in order to obtain the things that I need in terms of I mean, essentially that's all work is. You sacrifice part of your time now for the hopes that you can do things that you want and things you need to do later. And if you have this upfront money, then I can take care of my family now. I can take care of these things now. I can put myself in a financial situation now to where I can travel the world if I wanted to and experience that, or I can just start doing things work-wise, maybe a little more free to what I actually what drives me, or all that. So essentially it's just I do that not so much just for the purpose of I want money, but because it gives me the freedom to, I feel, live life on my terms. Because I don't know if that's, I don't know what else I could know, let's say, about myself.
Do you think it would limit your growth, winning the lottery tomorrow?
I don't know. I guess that's something I have to learn if I win it, but it would limit my growth.
Do you play it right now?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
But I look at it more so, I don't think it would limit my growth, because I suppose it would limit my growth if I let that money make me feel, if I allowed that money to make me feel like I didn't need to do anything else. But I don't see it that way. I see it like that money would allow me to be free to actually do the things that I want to do. Whether that be, start a business, buy my mom a restaurant, take care of all the financials of my family so that everyone can not have to worry about that stress. Be able to buy a house for myself and not have to deal with all the renting bullshit. And, it's not like to go out and buy a fancy car or anything like that. It's more so just the freedom of being able to do the things I need to do, I want to do, and solely that. Because like I said, working.
What kind of restaurant?
Huh?
What kind of restaurant you starting?
Probably like a trattoria or something like that. Just one of those like mom and pop. Those like mom and pops, like Italian places. My mom's she loves that kind of stuff, so I'll just get that for her and let her just run that. But yeah, I think if I had to know one thing, because essentially the journey, that's the adventures is what you live for, essentially. So I'm not limiting myself with that. As anything, I feel like if I got that money up front, then I would allow myself to really experience that journey in a different way, a little more free. But in terms of learning things about myself, I feel like you can't expedite that. That's something you learn day by day with time. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a super immature answer of me, but that's the first thing that popped in my mind. So that's just, that's real.
Yeah, no, it's great. I was just curious.
Um,
I didn't know what your answer would be to that either.
Yeah.
I was curious.
yeah. Um, let's see what I want to ask. Okay. If you knew that in 1 year you would die suddenly, would you change anything about the way you are now living, and why?
Yeah, I would never work. I would. It kind of goes along your lines. I would empty the bank account and do whatever. I mean, do whatever I please. I would try to fall in love and just love life. And why? Because it would just be about enjoying each and every moment that I get to spend alive. So like I would just maximize my day, and like that is my goal right now. But work does, take a little bit away from that. So like
Yeah.
I would just be like, you know what, like not to say that work's not important, because like I think it is, but like purposeful work would be more important.
Exactly.
So like
yeah.
I was at this Bible study the other day, and this preacher was talking. His name was JT, and Ferguson had that big like racial riots, and he went into the middle of it and was just like trying to open people's perspectives, and he had a great story, a great testimony, and like he just talked with such purpose and such passion. I would love to find something along those lines that you know I could do every day that would fulfill me. That if like he just like those people that just walk with that abundance of energy because they are just filled with passion, and like that's kind of how I felt with ball. Is like when I was in it, like I had all the energy in the world. Like sleep was never like, oh, I need to go to sleep, I need to do this. It was just like there was a freedom about the day-to-day life that of whatever happened, and it just came into fruition.
Mhm.
So I would just say, like, if I were to die in a year, I would try to find something I'm extremely passionate about and learn everything I could about it. Probably maybe God, and that's kind of like what I'm trying to take on right now.
Mhm.
What does friendship mean to you?
What does friendship mean? Friendship is something I would say it's like a two-way street. It's someone that can help you grow, someone you can help grow, but basically two people that are living the same journey in a way, seeking the same thing. What does it mean to me though? I mean, I don't think you can be happy without friends. You can't be truly happy alone. You need friends, you need family. You need that around you to give yourself an opportunity to be happy. Honestly, the happiness comes from within, yes, but once you find that, then you need to surround yourself with people that are on the same journey to a certain extent. There's not like you just copy and paste people that are exactly like you, but you know what I mean. I don't think you can put a price tag on a good friendship. Being able to call someone, you got some things you need to talk about, be open, be vulnerable. The person's not going to judge you. You're not judging them. Just get on the phone, talk it through. I don't think there's anything. There's really, it's family, essentially. You get on the phone and talk to your family. You have your close friends you talk to. You help each other work through things, and yeah, I mean, I've never been one to have a whole lot of friends. Like I have them, but not. I have a lot of friends, but not like close friends. So I think more so that, let's say, a question, what's what does close friendship mean to you? Because friendship to me honestly means nothing if you're, if we're on different paths, or if we're just acquaintances. You go out and do things together. I really don't care to do that. That's not how I am. I'd rather have 5 really, really close friends that I trust and I love, rather than having 100 that I can just call up and be like, oh, let's go out this weekend. Like, I couldn't care less to do that at all. You know what I mean? And not just a matter of going out. I mean, like, if it's a friend that it's just an acquaintance for just to spend time with, then I'm not concerned whatsoever. I could not care less to spend time with you. It's like one of my favorite quotes is, "My solitude doesn't depend on the presence or absence of others. On the contrary, I hate who steals my solitude without in exchange offering me true company." And I think a true friend is a person who offers you true company. If that's a person that's not going to offer you that, they're not a friend. So I guess for my friendship to me is that quote in and of itself.
So I guess like true company is what, presence?
Exactly.
Or what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you can't spend time with me for 4 or 5 hours and have your phone stick in your pocket, or unless it's like an emergency, and not have to answer the call, and or just do this and that. I'm not sitting here like I need to be the center of your life, but the way I treat others is how I expect to be treated. And when I'm with you, you're the center of my life. And I have people that I love in the background, and if they need me, obviously I'm always there for them. But when I decide to spend time with you, I'm spending time with you. And if you can't give me the same return, then I don't consider you a friend, or at least a close friend, the person that I'm gonna spend my time with. So yeah,
that was excellently put. I want to thumbs up that. Love that. That was ginormous. You want to move on to set? You want to go to set 3? Your first question is set 3.
I feel like that's why we got so close, because you and I from the beginning, I feel like we both see very eye to eye with that. From the moment we start, like we don't have our phones though. We would go to the beach and we leave our phones in the car. You're the first person I ever met that would do that instinctively. So when I saw that, when I see that in people, it's not like, oh, I need to be friends with them, but it's just like, oh, well, I want to spend time. I want to see what this person's about. You and I, we clicked pretty easily from that at the beginning.
Well, you know what you're getting then, right? Like you're like, if I'm not gonna be distracted and we're just gonna go hang out and do whatever, like, you know what you're getting.
Exactly.
Like you're getting my full, unless we're competing at something, or even you're gonna get my full attention there. But it's just like, no matter what, like, if I take out all my distractions and we're just hanging out, like, whether you're getting the full experience of what I am or who I am.
Exactly. And I don't think there's a price tag on that authenticity.
Right. Yeah, I think it's amazing.
So question 3 or set 3. Let's see.
These get wild. I read a couple of them. I'm like, man, that's deep.
Oh, okay. Here's one. If you were going to become a close friend with your partner, please share what would be important for him or her to know.
So, partner in a relationship, what would be important for him or her to know? That being myself is the most important thing to me. So, like, if there's a situation or a place that requires me to do something else or be somebody that I'm not, I don't want to be a part of it.
That's good. That's really good. I love that.
Because it's my turn. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
That's really good.
Ooh, what, if anything, is too serious to be joked about?
It's funny. I heard this thing the other day. I might botch the quote, but it basically said that when you lose the freedom to joke, you lose the freedom to speak. So
I like that. I need to hear that.
Essentially anything, I guess. If you can't joke about something, you know, and yeah, of course, you're not going to joke about someone dying, you know, or something serious like that. But on a lighter note, I don't think there's anything that shouldn't be game to joke around. You know, I think that's why comedians are so popular. They say that I went to see Sebastian Maniscalco earlier in the spring, and he basically said, closing out, he said, "We say things that you guys are thinking, and the difference is that we say it out loud, and that's why it's funny. And when you lose that, we don't have jobs." So basically, comedians are funny because they're saying things that people are already thinking, but they just either you don't have the balls to say it out in public because you'll just get canceled and this and that in today's culture. You know, it's like, what do you? There's just such a weird gray area. It's like, oh, you can't say this. But no, I'd say that you should be able to joke about a lot of things. You know, and if you hurt someone's feelings, okay, it's a joke. It's a joke. You know, I'm not coming at your life. But I would say I'm gonna leave it at that. If you lose the ability to joke, you lose the ability to the freedom to speak. So
yeah, I like that. I actually like that a lot.
Yeah. I heard that just the other day. It was like it was the CEO of this satire newspaper or journal publication, and he was talking about that, and he said that. I was like, wow, you know, because he basically, they do news, but they do it in satire, so they do it in a joking way, but people still get their news. So I thought that was really interesting.
If you think about it, like, let's just say in our relationship, if we could no longer give each other a hard time, like, our relationship would eventually die out.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what like, because it would take away the enjoy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but go ahead.
Okay. Your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to safely make a final dash to save any one item. What would it be and why?
My pens.
Your pens.
Yeah.
See, this is interesting. I knew you loved them. I didn't think that they played that big of a role.
I mean, they have been what has allowed me to figure out what my problems have been, and explore my brain. Like a lot of my journey has come.
There's other pens. Why those?
Right. There is. What? I mean, yeah. Like, can I pick up any other pen and write? Yeah. But like, every time I pick them up, there's just like that like moment of like joy that comes over me. It's like, man, these things are really cool. Like, I really enjoy writing with these. And it's one, I can pick the first one that I got, the red lava one that I got. I would say that would be the one item I would get, because like, I love being smooth, and there's nothing I have found that writes better than that. And then just like, when I sit down and write with that, it's just like, man, like, I don't know. It puts me in the moment, because it's like, man, I need to treasure this moment because of this, like, what I have in my hand. It's like, I don't know. This might be a bad analogy, but it's like a wedding ring. Like, if I buy a cheap wedding ring, like, that's pointless. Like, why wouldn't I spend my money, like, on, like, if I value my partner that much, like, why wouldn't I just, you know, put it into that? But like, like with this, like, I treasure it so much that it just like, it has gotten me so much, like, writing itself has gotten me so much better. And then like, I spent the money that I did on this pen, and it's just like every time I think of it, like, it brings back all those memories of like that growth. And it's like, okay, so now I still have work to do, and I want to continue moving forward. So like, I don't know if it's sentimental or if it's just like, hey, like, every time I pick it up, it low key, I don't know, I just get so immersed in what I'm doing, and that's also what writing does, but then I just have the smoothness of that. like experience.
Mm.
I
I thought
I
of
don't know
it
what else.
when you were saying that.
Yeah.
I tied it to like a glove. You can put someone else's glove on and catch it fine, but it's not yours.
Right. That would probably be the second thing I'd say.
Your
Because
glove.
I do love my glove.
Damn, your bow.
I do,
Are
like,
you leaving your bow to burn?
I don't think it burns. It's like, I don't know, like, this thing's sick. I don't know, like, this thing's not this thing is not burning. This thing is
Dude,
gonna be,
I don't
like,
even
maybe
know what
the
that looks like.
maybe the strings do, but that thing's gonna be all right. So we'll just pick it up when the fire quits burning. But, like, to me, like, it's cool. It's taught me a lot of things, but, like, I don't know. It hasn't taught me as much as writing has.
Sure. Now, are you comfortable sharing this price tag for this pen? What the hell? How much was this thing? If you say it was $30, I'm gonna be like, dude, what the fuck?
It was a $800, $900 pen.
Oh my god. Is this? I mean, I can imagine how easy it flows on the paper.
I mean, it's just really, yeah. Yeah, it was like, so it was. I don't know if I shared this story, but so I got released from indie ball or from the Twins, and I'll just share it real quick. And so I go home, and real quick backtrack. So like during my rehab process for Tommy John, they had a mental skills coach there, and her name was Jamie. And Jamie and I spoke, I mean, once a month, twice a month. I mean, I think it would average twice a month, or every time she was down in Fort Myers, and we'd sit down and we'd have a conversation, and we'd have great conversations, like borderline things of this nature. Like I guess she's a therapist, I guess is the way you put it, but she encouraged me to start writing, and I obviously, me being me, a little stubborn, always started pushing back, and I was like, okay, but she kept giving me notebooks. She gave me the notebooks and we was like, dude, write this stuff down. And so I'm writing and whatnot, and so it evolves in rehab. And I don't know, I was at a restaurant and they had a cool felt pen, and I was like, oh, I really like the way that writes. So I started this journey. It's like, I want a really cool pen. And I would go to Target or I would go to Office Max, and I'm like, I don't really like any of these. I'm not. They're cool, but they're okay. And so I'm continuing to go home, and I'm writing, and writing's making me better, and I'm figuring shit out, and like, I don't know, like just enjoying the moment and doing like writing. And then so I get released, and I go home and whatnot, and I get picked up in York, PA, and they put me in this host family, and this host family she lived about a mile and a half from the house or from the field. So I would just walk to work every day. It was late summer. I mean, the weather in that the weather in that area was perfect at the time. Like, I mean, on days it rained, I would grab a ride or ride my car, but I walked. And there was this one day I actually switched sides of the street. I normally walked on the left side of the street. I walked on the right side of the street. I think it was like a weekend. I'm walking down, and there's this sign that says open. It looked like a barbershop sign. It was like a red and white with like a little like creativity, and the door was open, and I just peered in. And so I had my phone on me, luckily, at this time. I looked at the time. I was like, man, I have a lot of time before the game. I was actually going to this bookstore, and I was like, oh, I'll stop in. So I stop in, and it's a pen shop. It's called Pippi's Pen Shop. And I walk in, and it's fountain pens. I've never heard of fountain pens in my life. And I was like, what's a fountain pen? So, like, fountain pens are these pens that are refillable with ink, and you can fill them with different color inks and all this other stuff. And they got a metal nib, and they just flow real easy. So I'm sitting there talking to her, and obviously she has anywhere from a $5 pen to thousands of dollar pens. Like, there's expensive pens, and I had no idea. So I'm sitting there, and an hour goes by, and she's teaching me all these things. Like, there's different nib sizes, there's different nib strokes. It's like what you can do calligraphy with, and all these things. And I'm like, man, this is fascinating. And like, so I'm sitting there, and I was like, okay, like whatever. And I was like, oh, what's that pen? She's like, oh, of course you ask about that pen. And so it was like one of the first pens that really caught my eye, and she was like, you're whatever, blah blah blah, this and that. And so she's like, let me holding it and letting me play with it. And I was like, man, that one's really cool. And she tells me the price, and I was like, oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. And I was like, that's wild. Like, that's really cool. And so I walked out of there with like a $25 pen. It was, I actually gave it to my sister, but it was like a shiny metal cap and it was magnetic and it had like a wood grain. It was borderline, I don't want to say fat, but it had like a fat, it was like kind of thick.
Are they
And
heavy?
the end cap, yeah, it was relatively heavy. It was like a little like inch metal thing where you could cap the cap or whatever. And so, and I bought some blue ink, some bright, not bright blue ink, some dark blue ink. So that was my first purchase. It was like a $35 or $40 purchase. So like nothing crazy, like just pretty normal, standard. A little pricey for pens, but you know what. And so I'm writing and the season's coming to a close. And like mentally, like I've never been better at bouncing back from bad outings. I like my process is getting better. I'm waking up, I'm doing my workouts. Like I'm sticking to the things that I'm telling myself to do, like kind of how we started this. And I'm doing what I need to do. And I'm like, man, like if I continue to do this, I'll treat myself to my prize. So like I just started saving up. Like each paycheck I took X dollars out, and I was like, when I get to that amount, I'll put it in there. And so like my last week in York, I was like, Pippi, like on Thursday I'm coming in here to buy that pen. And she would, because I would like on my way to work, I would just stop in and I don't know, once a month, twice a month, and just say, hey, what's up, and you know, look around the store. Because like I developed a friendship with her, and whatnot. And so that my last week in York, I ended up buying that pen. And to say it was life changing would be dramatic, but it was like it was fun for me. Like it just kind of happened, and then like it kind of grew a little bit, and I've kind of stalled out because I no longer live there, and I no longer can stop in there and see all the cool pens. But if you've never been to a pen shop or a fountain store pen shop and you write, I would go, because it's interesting. I got two for my buddy's wedding, one for his wife, and she had a little package, and I was like, man, that's really cool. That's a great gift. So I gave it to them. But they can cost anywhere from 20 to, I mean, there's fountain pens of the year that cost like 5, 6, 7 grand. They're wild. It's wild.
Yeah, I remember when you were going there, you told me about, you know, just the experience, and you told me, I don't think you told me about the second time you bought it, but you told me about the first one. I think the first one you bought, and you were just like, dude, I can't wait to just go write.
Right.
Just writing was almost like you just loved just the act of writing with the pen. But of course, anyone else, I'm just like, dude, it's a pen. So I guess I'm not bought into it like you are, but the enthusiasm.
It is just a pen. It is just a pen.
Yeah, but it's more than that to a certain extent. It just, to everyone, a car is a car. But why are you spending $200,000 on a car? You know, it's just to each their own, of course. So, that's interesting though. Does it bleed? Does it bleed through
On
the
bad
page?
paper. On bad paper.
Oh, so you gotta get good paper now too.
I mean,
Oh,
like,
shit.
so my broad tip nib will bleed a lot, but like as far as like those like the regular nibs, they don't, like, I mean, it has to be really crappy paper for it to bleed. Like all my notebooks have taken care of any notebook I've had has not bled, unless I'm like forcing it down into the paper. Yeah, if I just write normally, they're
You're gripping
they're
it hard.
smooth. Yeah, like if I'm feeling emotion and I'm like, I'm angry, or I'm, you know, like it'll bleed, but I haven't had any problem with it
Yeah.
on any paper really.
I'll never forget the one thing you told me about. I sent you, I don't know if I sent you a picture. I think I did. I sent you a picture of my journal one night because it was related to something we were talking about that day at the beach or something probably. And I've never been one to have great handwriting. Right. But I guess it's not a matter of having great handwriting, it's a matter of rushing through it, you know? And I remember you said something about it. You're like, dude, you're right. Like, it just seems like you write too fast. You were like, slow down. And I just sat there. I was like, what? And you told me, just like, slow down and just like write. Don't rush through it. Don't rush to get it done. Like, really do it. And Basically, I don't know if that's your way of telling me to get my handwriting better, but I started focusing on just that. It's like slowing down and really, making sure that the letters don't really, blend into each other and stuff. And obviously the way the page presented when I was done was much more neat, much more put together, a lot nicer looking. But I did find that I actually got more out of the writing. I found it's a simple idea as the things we talk about. Just like take care of each moment, and things will work its way out. Well, if you take care of each letter, you'll get more out of each letter you write. And I found that to be pretty interesting. Now, is it something that I still hold true? I haven't really thought about that so much when I've been writing, but for that time frame, I remember I was kind of taken back by that. I remember I retained more. It was cool. So
Well, like in that process, I have found that like when I rush through it, it's just like I'm just trying to get it on paper. Like in Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights book, he goes, "I don't write to remember, I write to forget."
yeah.
And like that was one thing that fascinated me too. And then so like when I find myself in a rush, like that is my process. Like if I'm writing and I'm just telling a story, like I don't try to like force myself to slow down. But like if I'm like, hey, I'm rushing through this, or I'm making a lot of I'm crossing a lot of words out because I'm making a lot of mistakes. It's like, okay, like Zach, slow down. Like your mind will tell you what like needs to come next. Like I think like when I was writing early, like, oh, I'm gonna forget what I'm thinking about, and it's like that's not the point of writing. The point of writing is to like see what my thoughts are on page. So the only way to do that is to be in the single letter that I'm writing right now, or the single word. And the only way to write that word is taking care of each letter. And like all of a sudden like my writing was short, and like now it became long. And it was like that doesn't make any sense. Well, it actually does when you think about it, because now instead of like trying to just rush it onto the page, now it's filling the page. It's fulfilling, because it's like there's no longer a rush to get it done. Now it's just like, okay, like I'm so into this moment, like whatever happens on this page happens. Like I did it yesterday. Like I got 2 paragraphs done, and like all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm in a hurry. Like something distracted me, and then I caught myself. I was like, I just wrote slow down, and then all of a sudden like a new paragraph started, and I was right back into square one. You know what I'm saying? So like that process, like it's, I don't know. It started with every time like slow down. Like that was like my process when writing, but like now it's like kind of like I need to let go of slowing down in order for that practice to come out of me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, yeah, it does. Like I said, when you were talking to me about it, I actually implemented it. And I do like the idea that if you're just writing just to write something down to get the thought down, let's say, or no, like if you're telling a story, it's not as, let's say necessary. But if you're writing something, let's say you're trying to work through something, and not every single journal session is the same, obviously. The way
right.
You go about the structure may be similar. Obviously, in my end, for the most part, the structure is the same, but the significance, let's say, of what I'm trying to accomplish, it's all contingent on what that day presented, things I noticed about that day, things I need to work on from that day. Some days are different than others, obviously every day is different, but when it's something you're really trying to work through, I do like the idea of slowing down and really retaining it. It's the same idea as just anything. It's just listening to something or talking about something, Typically when I become really passionate about something, I speak really fast. I remember on our last podcast, I'm talking and you're just like sitting there and you're giving me this mindset, or like this cues, like slow down. So it makes perfect sense why that would translate to writing,
Well, it's kind of funny that you say that. Is like the shorts on YouTube of you are popping off. Like I know you don't see it, but I get all the analytic views, and like when I did, like you on that last one, it like is going crazy.
Why? Because I slowed down.
And like I did notice that on the last one. Is like you were the most relaxed I think you've been on any of them. Like you finally sat back in your chair and you just like, you let yourself be and you let yourself speak freely. And like I was I remember I told John, I was like, dude, that Luca's amazing. Like his last one was great. Like I just finally felt like you were completely yourself, and not to say that you weren't, but it takes time to get comfortable.
You did say that afterwards, and when you said it, I felt it. I honestly I did, because I didn't think about it in the moment, but I did sit back. I did somewhat. I don't know. A part of me just relaxed when you noticed when you pointed that out. I was like, huh, maybe.
So I think
Maybe
that
I'm finally
I
uncomfortable around
kind
you
of
after 2 years.
finally. That's okay. But I think that's a good question for you too. Is your house containing everything you own catches fire after saving your loved ones and pets? You have time to safely make a final dash to save any one item. What would yours be and why? And we'll end there. Well, like once you finish, we'll go on.
You're gonna think I'm crazy, but so I think it would be my rosary. My rosary and my pillow. First pass approximation is probably what I would do, because every time I travel with my rosary, I travel with my journals, I travel with my pillow. And those are like my first things, and I bring my blue light glasses are like the second wave of things that I remind myself always. But I haven't traveled once in the past 2-3 years without my rosary, without my pillow, without my journals, without my blue light glasses. Pillow, I made that investment probably about 2 years ago now. And I haven't slept a night without it in over just about 2 years. And of course I can just buy the same pillow again, but same idea. You know, that was like my first, that's the one. So when it comes time to get a new one, I'll buy it. But I if I had one thing though, it would be my rosary. Probably.
Why?
I don't know, dude. That thing, I wake up every day, I go to bed every day. That's like, when I'm praying, I pray, and then afterwards, I give the rosary a kiss. I like place it on my forehead. Sometimes longer than others. Just like that feeling of being grounded. I feel like sometimes when I put it on my head, I feel this weird rush through me. It's almost like something is just kind of going through my body and exiting through my feet. I feel this connection with the ground. Very spiritual, of course, obviously, but I can't really explain it. I got it blessed by a priest. So it just has this thing. I can't explain it. I haven't slept in a bed. I can't remember the last time I slept in a bed where I didn't have my rosary with me. And it just it's this grounding thing. It just makes me feel, you know, God's right there with me, of course, essentially. And that's like my thing. I can't explain it. It's like my thing. It's weird. It's not weird. It's just like a strange thing I need to have with me, you know? It's like that blanket the kid can't sleep without. Mine is like the rosary. I could sleep. I'd be fine, I think. If I had to choose one, if I'm just going on a sleepover somewhere, I think I'd be fine to sleep without my pillow for a night. But I think I would feel weird without my rosary. You know, if it's something I can control, of course. If it's something I can't control, then fine. But if I willingly decided to pick one over that, I think that would like make me feel very uneasy. So I think that would be the one thing that I would get if I had to run back in the house. And then my pillow. So
Cool.
Yeah,
I like this. I thought this was. I learned a lot about you, even though like we already have like a really good connection. I thought this was a really interesting experiment.
Yeah, likewise. I really liked your answer about what does someone need to know if they're in a relationship with you. That was really good because I relate to that heavy, and that's something that Tally and we've discussed multiple times about, you know, always being ourselves. You know, that needed to be the first thing always, because if you lose that, then you know you lose a lot of things. So I love that.
Well, it goes along hand in hand with the comment you made about like the jokes. Like if you can't joke, then you can't speak freely. So like if you can't be yourself and you can't speak freely, then like it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, 100%. No, like, I don't know. I don't know what I expected your answer to be, but I just didn't think it would be that concise. That's what I liked about it. You know, it said so much, and it was just only a few words, and it was perfect. It was really good.
Took a little thought.
It was good though. It was good.
Cool. So we'll kill it right there. Thank you for joining our experiment. If you guys want to try it, I will put the link in the bio, and I wouldn't mind trying it with other people too, just out of pure curiosity. But right now, I feel closer to Luca than I ever have. Honestly, I don't know why, or it's just different. So I would encourage you guys to try it. But again, thank you for joining us. And next up, we're going to be speaking with Kieran Deepening. So please come back and join us for that, and we will see you again next week.
Sounds good.